Hello, my name is Lee Presser. This is my show. I speak frequently to very interesting people. Some of these conversations are so exciting, so intellectually stimulating, I thought others might like to listen in. This is the reason we started recording Conversation with Lee Presser.
Welcome to Conversation with Lee Presser. Some business practices of the former Treasurer of Madison County, Illinois, have prompted an investigation by the U.S. Attorney for Southern Illinois and the Illinois Attorney General's Office. The issue being investigated involves Madison County tax auctions from 2005 through 2009 under former Treasurer Fred Bathon, a Democrat. Several members of the Madison County Board have commented publicly about the issue, which affects the public's perception of the county government. We have with us today Jean Myers, a Republican, one of those board members. Now, Ms. Myers represents the 11th District, which includes Troy and Pin Oak Townships. Jean Myers, welcome to Conversation.
Thank you.
First, let's just do a little resume stuff. How long have you been with the county board?
I was first elected in 2002, so I am...
So you've been around a little while.
Yes, I have.
And you've seen this issue develop, because it actually started developing after you were there.
You're correct.
Were you aware while this was developing?
Actually not. The tax sale process is handled exclusively by the Treasurer's Office with the assistance of the Clerk's Office. Mm-hmm. And it was, it's his constitutional responsibility.
This is a constitutional office, the Treasurer, meaning that he is completely autonomous from the county board. Is that right?
That is correct.
As is the Clerk's Office, too?
Yes, it is.
Okay. As is the state's attorney, right?
That's correct.
Okay, fine. So let's just go over what this whole thing is about. What is it that, and I know that there's an investigation going on, and we don't want to prejudice the legal process in any way. So I only want you to talk about those things which are already publicly known, and because we don't want this program to be turned into a vehicle where people can say they're trying to nail somebody for something they didn't do.
I appreciate that, Mr. Pressler. That's one of my greatest concerns. I certainly don't want to circumvent the investigation.
Right. Okay. So from the beginning, what happened? Why is there an investigation about tax sales that occurred between 2005 and 2009?
It actually happened as a result of an article that was ran in the Belleville News-Democrat, and that was in September. They had done an extensive investigation. The information was available on the Treasurer's website and publicly available, and they compiled that information. They did an analysis with other counties to do a comparison, to see how other counties were handling the tax sale process and what the rates were in those counties. And it appeared that there was something inappropriate.
Well, let's just back up even further. What is a tax sale? Most of the people listening to this probably don't even know what you're referring to with a tax sale. Why don't we start from the beginning? Somebody has not paid their property taxes to the county, right?
That's correct.
Okay, now what happens to them?
They are given notification that their property is going to be, their parcel will be included in the tax sale. They are given the date. The tax sale for this year is coming up at the end of February. And
February 2011 you're talking
yes,
about.
2011. And it's for properties from 2009.
Properties that did not pay their taxes in 2009.
Correct.
And so the county is owed money from those property owners, and in order to get that money, they're actually selling their right to that money to somebody else. Somebody will give them the cash that's already owed, and they're selling the right to collect that money to these other individuals that buy the taxes up.
That is exactly correct.
Okay.
The county has a responsibility to collect the money and be able to distribute it as deemed appropriate to the other municipalities and school districts and the
Right.
the other taxing bodies.
And so if they can't collect, they can't distribute.
That's right.
Which is why they sell the rights to buy these taxes owed to other people who will pay them, so the money's going to be distributed.
Yes, and that follows the statute of the
Right.
state of Illinois.
Okay.
You know, that is the appropriate method of handling, you know, that situation.
Okay, so now I guess it starts with, how is the process accomplished for this sale of someone's taxes owed to some other third party?
There are several tax buyers and they're tax buyers not just in Madison County, but they go throughout the state. And they go to numerous counties and make purchases. And then they pay the taxes. During this tax sale, they are given an opportunity to establish the rate of interest that is attached to redeeming.
And that's the crux to the issue here, right?
That's
the
exactly.
rate of interest. Now,
That's
where does
exactly
this
right.
tax sale take place, and how does it take place?
It takes place under the direction of the current treasurer, and it is in the Madison County buildings. It has been in the boardroom, which, you know, has microphones. It, you know, facilitates meetings. The last tax sale under Treasurer Miles was conducted in the courthouse. So, you know, there's some discretion there as to the physical location of the tax sale.
And how does this tax sale work?
The tax buyers get on a list, and you know, they notify the treasurer that they are going to participate.
Okay.
They receive the information on which parcels are going to be available for purchase,
Okay.
and pay a small fee. And they, you know, are given all the information on, you know, who, what, when, and where, and then the tax sale is conducted.
And how is it conducted? There's another issue here that needs to be discussed as to how it's conducted.
Well, how it's conducted today is very different, or how the
Well,
February.
how was it in
how was it at
05
that
through
time?
09?
It is my understanding that some of the tax buyers were given preferred seating. In the county board room,
This is just what you've heard. You don't know that for a fact.
that's correct.
Okay.
I did not attend a tax sale,
Right.
to my regret.
Okay.
You know, obviously in the county boardroom, which has staggered seating, the person that is sitting in the very front row is going to be heard first. And so, of course, that's where, you know, they wanted to sit.
So some of the preferred customers wish to be in the front row.
Of course.
So they could be seen and heard.
Yes.
Okay.
And the practice was to call out the percent that you know, they wanted to redeem the property at.
Right. And it starts at 18, you said?
18 is the maximum
And what is
allowed by
and so the process is to buy it down?
bid down.
So somebody goes 18, 17, 16, 15, and so on. And this is the interest rate that the homeowner is going to be paying to the buyer of the taxes, the one who's actually paying the county, right?
That is correct.
So the lower that rate goes, the less damage is being done to some person who couldn't afford to pay their taxes in the first place.
Yes.
But
And that is the intent of the law.
There was a Supreme Court, an Illinois Supreme
Yes.
Court decision on that basis,
Yes.
that buying it down to the lowest level is the preferred method.
And that happened in 2000. Prior to any of this, you know, any of these changes taking place. So, you know, that is a matter of record. You know, the intent of the law is to allow the people the least interest rate to make their property more redeemable.
Right.
And of course, that interest is payable when they go to redeem their property.
But many of the people found that their rate that they were being charged by these third-party buyers was at 18, not less? Is that your understanding, or?
Well, the information supports that in the 06 to 08 time frame that over 99% of the parcels were sold at 18%.
So nobody was bidding lower? You don't know.
I wasn't
You weren't
there.
You weren't
I
there.
was not there.
But it would seem, therefore, that nobody in that room was bidding lower than the high rates.
Well, the question in my mind is if you have more than one person bidding, and if all of them bid at 18%, then you do not have a winning bid, because it is to go to the lowest bidder. And there is no lowest bidder if they're all the same.
Right, exactly. So, so if I understand it correctly, during this period that's under investigation, that there was a room full of people in the county board room or somewhere who were sitting and were ready to buy the taxes that were unpaid from a large number of parcels, and that 99% of these parcels wound up at 18%. And so one would assume that either they closed the bidding really, really quick after the first bid, or nobody was willing to bid anything less than 18%.
That would be a correct assumption.
Right. So I understand also that some of the people who wound up eventually paying off these things wound up having to pay, like there was one party that owed like just under $500 in taxes, but wound up having to pay the third party something like $2,000.
Well,
how does that happen?
The 18% compounds. On the day after the sale, it's 18%.
Yes.
After 6 months, it doubles.
To
And-
36?
Yes. At the end of the 3-year redemption period, it would be 108%. So that's how it compounds. That's why it is so difficult
And this
for
is under the law.
Yes,
I see.
that's correct.
So they're trying to encourage people to pay their taxes as soon as possible.
It is to their best advantage to do that.
Right.
But, you know, typically when people do not pay their property taxes, it's because they've had extenuating circumstances. You know, times are tough right now and have been for several years. And for them to not pay their taxes and then have additional interest to in order to redeem them, it makes it doubly difficult.
We are correct. Now times are tough. Of course, 05 through 08 was not so tough. Those are kind of the fat times. But still, people do have difficulties. I know that people have difficulties in meeting their tax obligations, especially if they haven't had the bank withhold that money or add that money to the mortgage and put it in escrow for taxes.
That's correct.
So, all right. So now we have basics. It seems that there were tax sales. The treasurer ran the tax sales. The rate seemingly didn't get bid down like it was supposed to be under this Supreme Court ruling, and so people became unhappy and made notice of their unhappiness, which brings us to the question of what started the investigation process.
It was the interest rate that was being charged versus other counties. When there was a comparison done, you know, in Champaign County, it was as low as 3%. It was also the fact that the vast majority of the properties were all going for 18%. You know, there very few were coming in at, you know, 14 or 10 or 7. And that seems a little inappropriate.
Have you heard that there was some connection in some way between those that bought the properties and the treasurer's office?
Yes, there are allegations. It's a proven fact that those taxpayers or tax buyers made political contributions to Mr. Bathon. To the tune of $140,000.
Total, not just one person giving 140. You're saying all
Total,
of
collectively.
all of his campaign collections was 140,000 from people who had bought or were going to buy these taxes.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Which some people thought was inappropriate?
Well, yes. And the state legislature is currently, there are members that are sponsoring legislation to make it illegal. You know, actual legislation in Springfield to stop that practice. That, you know, elected treasurers or anyone serving in the treasurer's office cannot accept campaign contributions from taxpayers.
Okay. So the this former treasurer, Mr. Bathon, is being investigated, you say. Nothing's been proved. He's not guilty of anything, correct?
That is correct.
Right, okay. So who is doing the investigating? Is it the county board?
No, we have requested, we immediately requested that the Illinois Attorney General's office investigate and the U.S. Attorney's office. We have been in communication with the state's attorney's office at Madison County. And it is my understanding that an investigation is moving forward. Of course, you know, I don't have any information on that, nor do I need information on that beyond that they are investigating. You know, I just think that there are some improprieties there, and you know, it falls under the realm of their responsibilities to do this investigation. That is the appropriate places to have the investigation conducted.
Now, I've read in an article in the Belleville News Democrat that it said here, Myers and her Republican colleagues should, this is Bill Mudge, the then state's attorney for Madison County, that they should refrain from their investigation, quote, unless your intentions to improperly publicize and potentially jeopardize a professional investigation led by trained and sworn law enforcement agencies. And what is more, Mudge wrote, you and your group lack the expertise to investigate allegations of corruption against public officials and have no legal authority to do so. Then it says here, Mudge, who's a Democrat, did not return phone calls to the writer of this article when he was, you know, when the writer wanted to ask some questions. Do you agree with what is written in that paper?
I think we took the appropriate steps. The issue was brought to our attention.
This was during a campaign period?
Yes, it was.
And there was a race for treasurer in Madison County?
Yes, there was.
There was a sitting Democrat at that time.
There was an appointed person in the treasurer's position.
Mr. Bathon had left this office?
Mr. Bathon left his office. He retired during his term, and Mr. Miles was appointed.
When did Mr. Bathon retire?
At the end of December in '09.
So approximately 11 months before the election. So then Mr. Miles, a Democrat, was put into the office.
Yes.
Right. And Mr. Mudge, he, according to this, is a Democrat.
Yes.
And so they were in no hurry, it seems, to investigate. Is that
well,
to be read here, or am I misreading what the intention of this writer is?
I had requested a meeting with Mr. Mudge and his staff because there had been prior complaints to his office from a tax buyer, and was saying that he did not get, you know, a good seating. He did not get the number of parcels. You know, he was raising objection to the process. And, you know, Mr. Mudge assured me that they had investigated and found nothing to be inappropriate. I certainly don't want to circumvent the efforts of the appropriate people doing this investigation.
Right.
And I agree with Mr. Mudge.
You just want them to do their job.
I want them to do their job.
Right. Now, it just seems, I notice also that there's a fellow by the name, not a fellow, a United States attorney for Southern Illinois by the name of Stephen Wigington, who is, has been in, when was this? In April of 2010, has become the United States Attorney
Yes.
for this for your area.
He's newly appointed.
But it's interesting, as you get down further into his resume, you come to find out that he used to work for Mr. Mudge,
Yes.
and that in fact he received $17,822 from Madison County, and it doesn't say in what period, as a member of the staff there.
Yes.
So he went from Mr. Mudge's office to be the U.S. Attorney, and now he's investigating something that the office, the state's attorney's office, didn't really take a very good look at, is from what you're saying.
We have asked him to be a part of that investigation, and it's my understanding that it is ongoing in his office. We are not notified of any findings that they have stumbled onto. We're not updated.
No, exactly. I mean, it's a private
And it
investigation.
is a private investigation,
Right.
as it well should be.
As they all are.
So,
Correct.
in my mind, I need to trust that they are going to do an extensive investigation and that they are going to handle it appropriately. And I do.
And it appears to me that you and some other Republicans are afraid that this long list of Democrats who are doing the investigating of another Democrat don't want any embarrassment for the Democrats.
I don't want the embarrassment for the county either.
Okay. Because I noticed also that Lisa Madigan, who is the Attorney General, whose father just happens to be Michael Madigan, who is the chairman of the Democrat Party of Illinois
That's correct.
and has been the Speaker of the Illinois House since 1983, except for 2 years when Republicans had control. And he's been in the House since he was like 28 or 29 years old, and
Yes.
he's an old guy now.
Yes. He's been there a long time.
Right, and helped to lead the state of Illinois almost off a financial cliff.
Yes.
Yes. So I can see where you might be a little concerned about Democrats investigating a Democrat.
There is concern there, but I also know that we requested a bipartisan effort in resolving this issue. The important thing, Lee, is that over 10,000 properties were sold. Those people have been forced to redeem their properties at a high interest rate. That high interest rate is inappropriate, in my mind, because of the process. So that is inappropriate. And, if Democrats are in the positions to do this investigation, then we are calling on them to perform the responsibilities of their jobs. And I'm going to trust that that's going to happen.
Okay, all right. I think we beat that one to death now. I think we can move on to some other issues involving you as being a member of the board.
If I might,
Oh, if you have something you
I
want
would
to
like
add?
to add something.
Go ahead.
The current treasurer has contracted with an outside facility or an outside company to handle this year's tax sale auction electronically. This is done in multiple counties.
You mean by computer?
Yes.
Okay.
It eliminates someone
Shouting
making a judgment on who shouted out first,
Right.
and has proven itself to be very successful. I watched a demo on the system, and it's very inclusive. It is very factual. It also records the information electronically, so there is never any question about who did what at what time on what parcel. It has some benefits to the tax buyers in it. They are all assigned a unit, and they have a summary available to them of how many property parcels they have purchased and what their total is. And there's a built-in timing system that says the current bid is 7%, and you have until this little line reaches the end to bid that down. So that is the process that is going to correct this situation. I have great confidence in it.
I'll be curious to see what the results are of this
Oh,
new
so will I.
process, just to see if it's up near 18 or closer to the 3 that some places have.
I agree.
Perhaps you or the new treasurer, Mr. Prenzler, is it?
Mr. Prenzler.
Might come here at some point after the February sale and give us that information.
I think that would be a great thing to share with all of the constituents
Right.
in Madison County.
We have about 3 minutes left here,
Okay.
so we really need to get to one other point. When I first came in today, my crew were talking about that the Madison County Board is about to change some of the responsibilities of the Treasurer's Office having to do with handling payroll. Can you briefly explain what the issues here are?
There has been discussion for quite some time, over moving the payroll function out of the Treasurer's Office. And in the last budget, the line items to pay for that were moved, from that budget. And it's for a long time been the intent to move it to create more of a central human resources department. We currently have, the insurance in one place. We have a person that takes care of all of the, the union negotiations, the job descriptions, any grievances. Those are separate entities, and they currently report to the county administrator, and it is, in my mind, in the best interest of the county and the employees to have those things centralized. I believe that there needs to be a comprehensive audit of our payroll system. I think that's an ongoing effort, but I also think that can be handled by someone other than the treasurer.
Some people think that this was a slap by a Democrat-dominated county board at the newly elected Republican treasurer. That is or is not the case?
I personally disagree with that.
Okay.
When I was elected in 2002, I had to go multiple places and talk with multiple people just to get my information recorded with the county. If I wanted insurance, which I declined, then I had to speak with a particular person. So we need to streamline that.
Okay. Well, we've run clean out of time. Thank you very much for being with us today.
I have enjoyed it very much.
I appreciate it. To my audience, let me say that the discussion here today about the former treasurer, Fred Bathon, he is not guilty of anything. Nobody has claimed that he's done anything wrong. There has been some allegations made. There's an investigation underway. Let's be clear about that. To my audience, we'll see you next Monday. Thank you very much.